Good day, this is Jim Conlan here from RCB Radio Sport West Clare, live at 92.5 and 94.8 FM and online at www.rcb.ie. For this special interview segment, I'm delighted to be joined by Katie Connole, a former Clare Ladies footballer, a Clare minor ladies footballer in 2013. Part of the Burren Gaels ladies football club. She would have played probably a huge part for the Burren Gaels ladies football before resettling in London, where she plays for Tirgunal Gaels, and she's been part of the London Ladies Footballers panel for the last 2 years. I suppose, Katie, this last month for you, I suppose, and all London Ladies footballers, it's probably been heartbreaking stuff, troublesome times, but I just want to take you back just from being located in Clare, playing for the Burren Gaels, being part of the Clare Ladies footballer scene and panel as such. How did the opportunity come about for you to go to London, be involved in Tirgunal Gaels, and then onto the London Junior Ladies football team?
Well, I suppose I was working with the company in Dublin, and then I got the opportunity to go to London with the company. So at the time, I was a bit skeptical because I'm not really a big city girl. But I kind of said, look, we'll go, we'll see how we get on. We'll try it anyways. So the first thing I did when I was packing my bag for London, I was put my boots into the gear bag, and my mum was like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, if there's anything I'm doing, I'm playing football over there, because I just find football is a great way to get to know people, make friends, and even just get settled in such a massive city like London, especially when you're not used to it. So yeah, I suppose I was over in London maybe a week, 10 days, and I had already started looking for clubs, and this was the middle of January, so not many places were up and running yet. So then, yeah, I finally found Tirgunal Gaels, and they were so welcoming. They really wanted me to get on board with the team, and I just when I went to my first training session, I felt so relaxed, because you're going from the big city of London, where there's so many people around the place, to this little club that have they're basically the same as my friends at home and that. So that was really good. If anything, the football was what helped me settle in London. And then, yeah, as we progressed, I never really had the London county team in my sights, because I was oh God, these are obviously really good. But then Paddy Bowles, the manager at the time, approached me, and he was like, would you be interested in coming for a trial? So I suppose with football, once you start, you kind of get sucked into it. And I went along to a couple of the trials that then started going training sessions and that. And I mean, honestly, it was probably the best thing that I ever did in London, because I just got stuck in with a group. It was like a ready-made family, a ready-made friend group. And yeah, it just made my time in London so much better, and it was a really good way to settle in, play a bit of ball. And I didn't even realise the standard of football in London. It was just brilliant to be getting high-quality games and, actually having a challenge and a bit of competition for yourself.
Yeah, and I suppose, Katie, you were part of a successful minor ladies football team in 2013, and I suppose you were growing up with an awful lot of girls that are currently featured heavily, prominently for the Clare Senior, Clare Intermediate County Football team, and I suppose you were part of that environment as well for a while. So even being based in Dublin, where you still had ambitions to be on the Clare Intermediate football side, and so obviously when you got the opportunity to go to London, I suppose you had to put those ambitions aside.
Yeah, so I mean, when I was up in Dublin working, I was still driving down to club training and that, maybe whenever I possibly could, midweek, and playing matches and that. It was difficult, but I suppose when you're playing football, these are the commitments and sacrifices you have to make. So yeah, when I was moving to London, I mean, that was probably one of the most difficult decisions about London, was having to transfer from my home club of Burren Gaels, who I grew up with, and even the County Clare and that, and knowing that I probably wasn't going to be playing with those girls for a long time. That was really difficult, but yeah, it definitely set me on my tracks in London. I mean, I want to play, I want to compete in London. So yeah, growing up playing football, it was never a question whether I would or wouldn't play in London.
And I suppose, Katie, Tirgunal Gaels, the club you picked in sort of London, which you found, I suppose you have girls from all over the country, from different parts, from Ulster to Leinster to Connacht, and I suppose it is a sort of, you said standard is quite good, because you're probably coming up against an awful lot of former minor intercounty players, former players that would have played at a high level as well. So you're probably just, I suppose, happy to be playing at a high club level, let alone get the opportunity to feature for an intercounty team again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my first training session that I went to with Tyrconnell Gaels, there was a girl there wearing like one of the Munster interprovincial jerseys, and I was like, oh my god, like what am I up against? And even like that, there was girls who played like on like Donegal teams. One of the girls was like part of like the Meath team, which are like doing so well these days. So it was like, I mean, the standard of football was so good. Like, and I suppose girls in London are probably that little bit older too, in comparison to maybe say my home club, Burren Gaels. So you were kind of getting, things were a little bit more physical. Girls were strong. I mean, you were like, it was just a good standard of football, but also like that element of physicality too, which adds to the game.
Yeah, and I suppose you said you got a call up to the London Intercounty team with Paddy Bowles as your manager, and I suppose people don't start to realise you still have to win an All-British Championship to even qualify for the All-Ireland sort of championship. And what does that All-British Championship consist of? Is that teams from Newcastle, teams from Glasgow, teams from Cardiff, Liverpool? Is it a long competition to even gain eligibility to play in the All-Ireland Championship?
I suppose we had last year now playing, we had I think Warwickshire and Lancashire, so there was just 3 teams in it last year, which like I suppose if you're comparing it, like obviously Munster you wouldn't have that many teams, Leinster you'd have a little bit more. So yeah, you do have a couple of games that you have to play, but in comparison to say like a Munster Championship or a Leinster Championship, I don't think it's as competitive. Like the games probably are a little bit more one-sided at times, so it can be a little bit difficult like that. But I mean, these teams have only started coming together recently, so it's just great to see like the development of football in England and in the UK all over. I mean, this year Scotland had entered a team to the All-Britain Championship, so you can see that like people are really like trying to buy into the GAA over in the UK, and that, which is good.
And I suppose you lost last year, the 2019 All-Ireland semi-final to Fermanagh, which was a devastating blow for you. But in terms of that the sort of commitment in terms of inter-county training, I imagine you have people from all different professions in a difficult sort of working class city in terms of London as well. You're probably going 3 nights a week training schedule like every inter-county team, fitness gym programs that you got to fit in and everything sort of. So it's practically the same as being involved with the Clare Intermediate footballers. I imagine you do the exact same thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because we'd be training like maybe 3-4 nights a week, like trying to get in challenge matches against ourselves, and that obviously if we want to get a challenge match you have to travel a lot further, like up to say Birmingham or that, which could be 2-3 hours. So yeah, you do, there's a high commitment of football there. Like, I mean, as I said, like the trainings, we'll have early morning trainings. A lot of our girls are like nurses. You'll have like a lot of teachers, a lot working 9-to-5 jobs, a lot in the construction industry too. So it's really hard to try and find that balance, like of say training in the evenings or the mornings to like suit everyone, because you want as many people at trainings, but it's not that easy for a nurse to take off a Saturday or a Sunday, and it's not that easy then as well for like your typical 9-to-5 workers to like maybe go, like maybe travel 2 hours for training and 2 hours home for an evening session during the week. So yeah, like everyone has, I mean, it is as intense, it is as hectic as your inter-county standards over here. So everyone is putting in just as much effort, I think, anyways. And
for yourself, based in London in your own profession, say on a daily commute, would you after finish work, would you have a 2-hour commute to training and then maybe would it be 10, 11, 12 o'clock from work and say at 9 in the morning before you get back into the house?
Yeah, absolutely. And especially because London, it can be so scattered and spread out. So like, I mean, I'm living, like say, east. I was living west, and I'm working east. So you have to travel over and back. Like that's a good hour and a half on the tube. And then where I live in comparison to training, like there's no point, by the time you come home after work, you don't have enough time to eat or anything. So you almost have to just hang around an extra hour at the training beforehand, like before training starts, because it's just things, you're relying so much on the tubes and that. Like I don't have a car, I don't know any of my friends in London who have a car, so you don't have that kind of bit where you can just take off and go in your car. Like you have to plan your day completely. You have to have your dinner ready for when you come home, which could be like that, like 11:30, and then get up again for the next morning for work. Like, so it's a long old day.
And I suppose I'll bring you on to the topic we're here to discuss now, and it's the exclusion of the London Ladies Gaelic football team from the All-Ireland Junior Championship. And I suppose seeing that draw Tuesday night, I suppose it really sort of hit home. Did you see the draw yourself? Or
I didn't, unfortunately, but we had girls all on the WhatsApp, and it was kind of like coming out. It was. I didn't really want to watch it because it was just a little bit deflating, kind of knowing that we weren't going to be pulled out of the hat or anything. Yeah, it was just. It was a hard thing to hear about then when the fixtures were made, like.
And do you sort of feel any bit sort of resentment when you hear that probably the London's men's team and the hurling team and Warwickshire hurling are going to be, looks like, and it has to be finalised, but 90% that they're going to be in the championship. Do you start to feel a bit of resentment that the Ladies Gaelic Football Association and the GA are sort of not the one combined viewing it, they're sort of different approaches?
Look, no, there's no resentment, because like at the end of the day, they are two separate organisations. Like, we understand that. I suppose more so for us, where it's just disappointing. Like, we see the lads there, we see that we're trying to put in just as much effort as them, and they still have that opportunity to potentially play. So for us, it's just disappointing, deflating, to think that like we've been pulled so early from the competition. I mean, I think the boys have until maybe September to kind of see how travel restrictions are going and that. And we think like with the way things have gone, like, I mean, this time 4 months ago, would I have thought that the world was going to be like this? Absolutely not. I mean, we've another 4 months to go now until the competition is set to start in October. So I suppose like that, we're just disappointed, and I suppose a bit jealous that the boys have that little bit more time, you know, that our decision was probably made a little bit prematurely, like, you know.
And the London GA board, did they give you as much resources as the men's team? Was it for the London GA board? I suppose it's massive disappointment, because I imagine they give you the same resources as to what they pump into the men's and hurling's team. So there won't be a problem there in terms of travel for you, or in terms of resources or stuff, that you would be able to come and fulfill all those games.
Yeah, well, I suppose, like I said, we are two different organisations, like, or we've different sponsors in that. I suppose this year we were like really positive and enthusiastic because we had like a brilliant sponsor come on board in JRL. So they were like really pushing us and really kind of like wanting us to get involved. Like, they were really wanted us to see us going home playing matches in Ireland, like getting to play to the best we could, like at such a high quality standard. So I suppose in terms of that, like 2020 for us was going to be like a real boost. I mean, in comparison to 2019, we'd made it to the semi-final. 2020, we had like that little bit of an extra backing behind us to kind of like try and pursue, get more games in, you know, like maybe even just learning more about like our nutrition around that and things. So it was going to be an added benefit. But yeah, like, I mean, we do have as much opportunities in London. I mean, as I said, it is hard. We are two different organisations. So I don't know exactly what kind of backing the boys get, but I do know that like we're doing okay. It's just, it's difficult in London because you don't have that community, as big as a community around you as what people have here at home in Ireland, like, you know.
And I suppose in terms of turnover of players, I presume as a squad there's a yearly turnover, and I suppose you probably added one or two valuable additions as well to your squad this year, probably of guards that would have even boosted you more, I say, come championship. Or had you retained many of last year's panel and added a few more as well to give you that extra bit of age?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you said, like, London has such a high turnover of people because someone could be here for like 3 years and then they decide to kind of like up and move back home. So that is very difficult. And I think for us, missing out on 1 year can be so crucial for like the development of the squad, because like that, I joined the squad last year. I was probably one of maybe 5 or 6 new girls onto the panel, which is absolutely huge for a county team. Again, this year, yeah, we had a few girls who had like opted to go home before, like, they always knew they weren't going to be part of the London Championship 2020. So yeah, like that, you do have a huge turnover, and missing a year, I mean, who's to say who's going to be around next year? Like, we are pretty confident that everyone is like committed to the London team, but you just don't know everyone's circumstances. And yeah, like that, we had a new couple of girls into the panel for 2020. I mean, it was difficult because it's hard for them to get to know each other, but like, we were pretty good, like trying to like keep up with each other on WhatsApp, like trying to do little fun activities on Zoom, just to keep everyone kind of like in good spirits, a bit motivated. And like, even just for us doing our own little bit of like exercising on the side, like, it was good to kind of have that bit of team companionship and competitiveness to try and push each other on when we didn't have like a proper setup or like a structured training plan, you know.
Yeah. I suppose, Katie, when you hear the GPA chief, Maria Kensla, saying it's interesting to see if the LGA will engage with London before a decision was made. And President Marie Hickey just saying the outcome, saying it was a good decision in terms of your involvement in terms of the travel sorting. That must be sort of deflating in sort of circumstances when you say, hold on, there's people in personnel are coming out with these sort of statements. Could they hold off for a while in terms of, and just wait and see? But saying things as a good decision and stuff like that, as a player, when you hear stuff like that, it must be sort of deflating, because it probably shows a lack of respect to you as well.
Well, like, yeah, it is deflating, but at the same time, we understand these decisions have to be made. I mean, this whole coronavirus is nothing like any of us have ever experienced before. I'm lucky that I haven't been personally affected by it, but it's just too dangerous. I understand like that the travel restrictions and that are in place for a reason. So granted, if the competition was meant to start, like say August, September, that probably would be like a reasonable time to make the decision, like, and exclude us from the county championship. But I think for us mainly, it's just there's another 4 months until the competition starts. As we said, restrictions have been set, restrictions have been lifted. It's such an ever-changing landscape. Like, I mean, we don't know what is going to happen, and I think that's out of everyone's comfort zone. So for us, like, I mean, look, we acknowledge the decision. We understand that it probably was hard for them. We just wish we had more time. At the end of the day, that's it. Like, I mean, everyone was so hopeful that like football and GAA, hurl and camogie, everything was going to be coming back. And like, that's the same for all us girls in London. Like, all we want to do is just play football. Like,
yeah, and I suppose, Katie, when you hear that New York are also excluded from the championship ladies team, I suppose there's no sense of comfort in that. But just in terms of saying Paddy Bowles, your manager, saying that if you're not involved in terms of this championship and take it the league, you probably be 20 months of non-activity in terms of inter-county competitive games. In terms of the club scene, then will you have club games over in London, or are they going to take place this year? Are you going to have anything in terms of ladies football? Because I imagine that to keep the focus in terms of you and in terms of your passion, in terms of playing London, you still want to be playing club games. I suppose there's no comfort when you hear New York are also excluded, but you're probably waiting. You have a long wait, I mean, until league action. If you're in the league next year, that's a long wait. And if you've no club games, or you're going to be heading into a disadvantage, I presume, compared to most counties who will have club action at least before the league starts next year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Like, I mean, as we said, if we're not included in the league in 2021, that will be probably in around 22 months without a competitive game. And that's just massive for any team. Like, it's impossible to keep up like a high level of intensity and quality football with that much of a break. I mean, if you take, for example, last year when we played Fermanagh in the championship, or Louth, I think they had put, I think, maybe 9 competitive games in terms of league games up under their belt, and we had only 2. So you can just see like the level that they were facing in to play us, and I think they only beat us like by a point or 2. So it just shows that if we had consistent football, if we had like consistent high quality matches, it would be such benefit to London. And then, yeah, just in terms of the whole club situation, I mean, yeah, clubs are starting to like kind of slowly go back training in small little groups. Yeah, we're hopeful that there will be club championship over there. I mean, look, as I said, everything's changing so much. It's hard to know what's going to happen. But yeah, we're very hopeful. And like that, I mean, the club championship in London is very competitive. I mean, I think last year every team was within a couple of points of each other. So on the day, you just don't know who's going to win. So it's great to see that in London. I mean, it's just nice to have like that high quality competitive football. Like.
And I suppose, lastly, Katie, you're our Clare girl at heart. Your focus is probably on the banner. I suppose you keep a keen eye in terms of how the inter-county team is doing, and also in terms of how Burren Gaels are doing, your own sort of club. And I suppose when you look at the intermediate championship in Clare, it must be sort of, when it comes to the semi-final stage quarter, and you see Burren Gaels there and just trying to make the breakthrough to get to that final step, the final. It must be sort of, do you ever get the toss, well, I love to fly over the plane, hop off, get on my boots and sort of try and get them over the line? And same way when you see the Clare intermediate sort of ladies as well, in terms of that, or are you at peace or at comfort? Can you sort of look on at that, and come championship day over London, I mean, those girls are playing, does it sort of still resonate with you or bother you since, or are you at peace with that now? Just lastly.
I suppose, yeah, look, it's disappointing not to be involved in it. I've made some of my best friends down through the years through the Burren Gaels team and also Clare Ladies. And I suppose because like, I'm good friends with the girls, I just really want them to succeed. Obviously, like, I'm sad myself not being involved directly with the team, but I'm just so proud of the girls, like how they're pushing on and that. And yeah, like, I mean, there's times where you're like, oh, I just love to hop on a plane, get back, play the game and head back over again. But I mean, like, these things are out of my control too. Like, can't, like, with work and things like that, you can't just give up everything either, like, for an amateur sport, as much as I'd love to. But yeah, no, it's bittersweet. But like, when I see the girls progressing and succeeding, it actually makes it worthwhile, like, sitting and getting to still, I mean, when I come back home to Burren Gaels for a weekend and that, I still feel like I'm part of the team and I'm still best friends with all the girls. So it's still nice to have that, like, community and kind of family feeling around you.
Katie, an absolute pleasure talking to you today and giving you your time to show the plight of the London Ladies footballers. We hope that it will be resolved, and if championship doesn't come your way, at least you'll be involved in the league in 2021. And Katie, thanks for telling us your story today, showing the plight and your Clare connection to the London Ladies Intercounty Football Team. We hope everything will have a good resolution for you, for London Ladies footballers, and for the whole Gaelic community at large. Katie, a pleasure, and take care.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jim.
Bye.
Thanks very much. Bye now.